Gary Vaynerchuk, head and founder of Wine Library TV and personal brander extraordinaire. You had a good keynote today at the Marketing Props event. I heard it was decent. That's what people said on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, you're a big proponent of building up the personal brand as a way of building up a business. Talk a little bit about how you did that.
You know, I think that is a very fundamentally big opportunity. It's not for everybody, you know. There's balancing. Obviously, some people do it more, some do less. I think you really have to look at yourself first and feel how much comfort you have with putting yourself out there. But if you do feel like you want to put yourself out there, you are an extrovert, you want to hug and kiss every baby on the street, I think it becomes a very powerful tool because there's a sense of attachment. I call it my Charles Barkley theory. My good friend is a huge Knicks fan, but he met Charles Barkley at a Morton Steakhouse in Miami, asked him for an autograph, he signed his napkin, and even though Barkley's a rival with the Sixers at the time and then the Suns, he loves Barkley, #1 favorite player, Barkley, because he had that emotional attachment. I think there's a lot of power to that. Especially if you're a good person, then you've got a really killer combo. And so I believe that if you can make that attachment, it becomes deeper and makes you more competitive. Again, somebody may be offering the same exact service or opportunity. You've got a competitive advantage by having that personal attachment with that person.
So how do you build that? I mean, you're obviously a big personality for your brand, but you've got other people working in your company.
Sure.
How do you extend that across beyond just yourself?
Take care, man. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Follow Gary V.
Wet paint, baby. Well, I don't let a lot of people work on my personal brand. I have 110 employees that work on WineLibrary.com, my retail side. But on the personal brand front, it's like 90% me. My assistant does 10% of my work in scheduling my gigs, negotiating my gigs a little bit now. He's doing more and more, you know. But I answer all my email. I do all my homework in the trenches, research and development on search.twitter or Google search, so I don't outsource that much personal brand stuff. You can, but I think if you're going to do that, you need to spend a good year. You want somebody right at your hip drinking your Kool-Aid to really understand you in and out. And as much as Matt, my assistant, does that, even at times his reaction is not exactly mine. So you can it takes time, it'll never be replicated. And so I highly recommend doing as much of your own personal brand work, especially the interacting part. You can't outsource answering emails or responding to Twitter. I'd rather you just not answer email than outsourcing it.
Yeah.
Be authentic or don't do it at all.
Yeah. So you shared a lot of advice with marketers today, some of which people kind of found kind of shocking, and some of which
what do you
was
think
totally
was the most
obvious.
shocking?
You know, I think you're right on. So yeah, I wouldn't say a
but what
lot
did
of
you
the
feel
stuff.
from your perspective? Because
you know, I think one of the big things was this idea of not having a game plan because it always changes. And I think the interesting thing that a lot of marketers forget is, I mean, we think about that in our lives, right? We don't expect that what the job we're doing today is going to be the job we're doing 15 years from now, and yet when we think about our marketing strategy, we sort of do think that it's going to be the same, and we need to get past that. But
yeah, I mean, you know, I did that a little bit for shock value. Of course, having some sort of game plan does have some value, of course. But I guess what I should have worded that a little bit better is have a huge game plan and nothing else. You know, my huge game plan is to buy the New York Jets. All the stuff that happens in between, the different businesses I launch, which will be many. I will be stretched thin Sally in this space. I mean, there's going to be 15 sites that are e-commerce sites that I launch in the next 2 decades that people will be like, what? You're going to email me and say, Gary, fruit drink, really? Yeah. Or that might actually make sense because of wine. You know, you're going to say, you're selling concrete now on the internet? You know, I mean, those are the kind of things that are going to happen. Those are the things I have no idea. Do you think when I was building a $50 million brick and mortar retail /e-commerce retail site 5-6 years ago that I thought I'd become an A-list internet marketing celebrity type person? No way.
Well, you know,
I didn't even know there was going to be a YouTube.
Yeah. No, nobody. I mean, one of the shocking things that we don't really think about, but somebody raised recently, which I thought was a great point, is this idea that YouTube wasn't around in the last presidential election.
That's right.
Like, we think it was around for
the
forever.
rest of our whole life, the internet.
Yeah, but it, you know,
but the internet
it wasn't,
as a whole.
right? Yeah.
1993, 92, most people aren't on the internet. It's like yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you imagine how big Where's the Beef would have been? You know, like that campaign would have been different. Might have not just been on television.
Yeah.
You know how many T-shirts would have been sold?
That woman would have been an international personality too,
She
right?
really kind of became. Actually, in a weird way, maybe that wouldn't be replicated. That's what you have to think about as a marketer. Those eyeballs that were all fixated on television in the 80s that allowed the Where's the Beef campaign to be so strong might not work now.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot less eyeballs on television. It's spread. It's on different sites. It's in different places.
Every other marketer would have used that. It would have been, where's the chicken, where's the blender, where's the wine, where's the
Sure.
whatever, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So one of the things that we, those kind of inside the social media circles tend to talk about is this idea of those who get it and those who don't get it.
Right.
One of the big things I talk about is this idea that companies can't afford to be faceless anymore, which I think we all sort of know, and yet so many companies still are. What do you think is holding those companies back?
They don't care about the company's long-term future. I mean, at
Who's
the end,
they?
the CEO. CEO and the big boss in most companies really doesn't give a rat's ass about the company in 11 years. They just don't. They're worried about making bonuses, and they're looking for quick fixes, quick number fixes. That's what got us into the economic crisis in a lot of ways. Banks were trying to fix up, people are trying to make numbers, merging and buying things to appease stocks. The game's broken.
Yeah.
They try to appease stock prices instead of trying to build healthy businesses.
So what's the fix for that?
Nothing. That's the game.
Right.
That's the system. The game for you as somebody knowledgeable in this space is to capitalize on your opportunity for knowing something that's about to become mainstream. It's like if I knew in 1984, and I was 25 years old in 1984, that hip-hop was going to be huge, I should have invested everything in hip-hop. I should have tried to sign LL Cool J. I should have launched a hip-hop clothing brand. I should have gotten in close with, Biggie and Tupac and Jay-Z. Or even let's go further back, Run DMC. I mean, to me, this space is hip hop. To me, those top 50 people followed on Twitter, they're going to be the deal makers, the decision makers, the shakers and the movers. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
And the people who know that today are the ones who should have the power.
Sure. People have access to people like Tony, the CEO of Zappos, or a Kevin Rose, or Mark Zuckerberg, that they never would have had because of social media. Now, all those guys aren't the most social, but like different people, trend makers, taste makers, Cal Canis's and Lauren Feldman's and Chris Brogan's and Pistachios, Coach Debs and you, and people have access to us on a crazy level.
Yeah.
And that's awesome, and people should be taking advantage of that, having that personal networking opportunity, because one day these people are going to be the head of marketing for Pepsi. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't want to hear any bullshit from 99% of the marketers out there. You get an email from Pepsi saying, we'll give you $3 million a year to be the head of our marketing, a lot of people are jumping.
Yeah.
A lot of people are jumping.
People do a lot of things for money.
So, people are going to be put into positions. People are going to be put into positions. Just like we've seen that big push in young GMs in baseball, like Theo Epstein. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to make the jump. Whether it's, somebody is going to make the jump and be the head of the whole conglomerate for Puma, Reebok. And they're going to rock it if they listen to them. And then all the companies and competitors are going to be looking for those people.
So that's the future casting. People who are doing this stuff today, the value starts to rise and they start to get paid attention to tomorrow.
They cash out in that world.
Right.
They cash out in the world they make fun of for not getting it.
That's great. Thanks, Gary.
You're welcome.